Hello, everyone. Glad y'all are here tonight with us. Been a busy week. Everything that you can imagine is going on, and done a lot of research, and have this will be our third show this week. We're going to be transitioning to our new schedule that we're going to continue on. Try to keep as much as possible on the Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays now, plus whatever member broadcast that we do for our members only. And as we get our footings under us and we move forward with the platform, and as we move out and do all the projects that we're doing now and the future project, it's exciting, and but we're getting busier and busier. Um, and but Little housekeeping as always. Whenever we're talking about certain cases or anything, uh, people out there in chat, you may have persons of interest or otherwise. Let's not use any names or initials. Let's let that if you have any information on a certain individual, it needs to be reported to law enforcement, report to them. But in the chat, it really doesn't serve any purpose for that. And because we don't want to influence anyone that might have some critical information and make them believe that this is the only person that we're looking at, because that's not the case. There's a lot of uh, across the true crime um, uh, web sleuth world, there's a lot of people out there working a lot of different cases with a lot of suspects and persons of interest. So anyway, um, and but we'll get moved on. And all right, as always, this is Mrs. Steve, and I'm Steve, and I do a little brief bio. Excuse me. I'm a retired law enforcement, 20 years experience. Worked everything from the jail, road patrol investigations, took a lot of different trainings, was on a SWAT team, entry team leader, counter sniper, got my state certification in crime scene tech, and it immensely assisted me in my investigative career. And I investigated all different types of crimes, from uh, burglaries up to homicides, and retired. And after I retired, just decided that now, when I became aware of the uh, true crime world on the internet and saw that the web sleuths were out there, and I said, well, and I saw some of the issues that they were having between each other and arguing, and just uh, everything you could imagine. I thought, well, maybe I could have an impact on that, and something positive could come out of it. So I decided to become, or try to become, an ambassador for law enforcement, and try to help the web sleuth communities, and try to unite and have everybody on the same um, uh, plane of thinking, and moving in a positive direction. And nothing that I've done. It's just that I've been able to make contact with some really great creators out there, and so far, and everything's been so positive. And I want to thank all of them that have helped move me to where I'm at now, currently. And plus I have to thank all my people that's in my community. Recently, I've been receiving some emails from some of the people that are concerned that that they're not able to support me by the membership program or otherwise, and I've spoken to them, and told them that everyone's valuable in the YouTube world of how it works. Is that I wouldn't be here without the people that subscribe, and that's all they have, is that they can come and watch my shows, and share my information, and swap ideas, be in chat. The subscribers got me to the position whereas I could monetize. Once I monetize, the people that choose to support me, I most certainly appreciate, because that allows us to go out and expand our footprint, and go out and work some of these cold cases like I'm going to go out in October and do. And so it's all just one great big family. And I'm just so lucky that I have such a community as you to support me, whether it be through chat, through just watching the videos, being a sub. I thank you all, being the members, whatever ever how you wish to support me. We thank you, and it means a lot of a great deal to us, and you just don't know how much. But that being said, we'll go into some of the topics that we're going to look at with this Coffee and Clues this week. Of course, everybody knows about the search of the Wabash in Peru. Some of the research that we did this week was everything from how far things could be washed downstream is a training exercise. I was able to go out there and find a training catalog for Indiana State Police and agencies throughout the state, and share that information, create some content for y'all to be able to go out there and share and understand what goes on in the training part of law enforcement. So that's worked out real well, and I appreciate all the views that we've had on that. It's been those videos this last week have been extremely successful, and I want to thank y'all for that, for sharing them, and it just, like I said, the more footprint we get out there, the better understanding everybody has. It just helps across the board. Also, earlier today, I got to I was invited to go over to the mob crew and speak with Chris about Dylan Rounds and some of the issues that. Let me go yell at her. No, one of the dogs is barking upstairs. If y'all hear a dog in the background barking, she just wants to come down and play with us. But but I was able to talk to him and Jerry. Do your thing, Big Steve. You're a good man. If more acted like you too would be far more tolerable. Thank you for those kind words, and thank you for your support. You know, I come from a very humble background, and I try to remember where I come from and where I am tonight. I've been well blessed in my life throughout my career, and in my life, and with my best buddy over here, Mrs. Steve, and got me to where I'm at today. But like I said, I was talking to Chris about some of his content that they had, that there was some more information that he's going to be going into in his future shows. And I found it extremely interesting because it was an old warrant, but it has been just served recently. And which I didn't know about that warrant existing. It was extremely, like I say, if you get a chance, go look at it and watch the video, and you'll see what I'm talking about. There's a 2021 warrant on one of the suspects, or the suspect named by law enforcement, and it was very enlightening because I didn't know that warrant existed. Didn't know it existed at the time that they first became aware of him being missing on the properties where Jesse, new here, Indiana girl myself, and I appreciate your work. Oh. Thank you. We'll be up through Indiana in what, 3 weeks?
3 weeks.
All right. Yeah, I got hooked up. But it was very interesting, and what Chris has done, boots on the ground up there, and what he's got coming up in the next week. But also, let's see what else we got here. This is some of the stuff from one of my videos that we talked about with the searches on one of my videos I released this week. I saw in Reddit where they was talking in Libby Abbey thread part of it. They've mentioned our channel, which I most certainly appreciate everyone that's been in that part of it and helped support me on that. That means a lot to me. Bridget Bowman, good people, Steve and Mrs. Steve. Thank you.
Thank you, Bridget.
Like I said, y'all humble us so much and been so good to us, and we are working for all of you. And as we move forward, I can't wait to use what I've received this week in the shipping box, and we'll mention a few items of those tonight also. But like I said, as the word spreads and everything, we are shocked at how fast we've grown from just started creating videos in May and got to this point now, learning a lot. We still have some computer issues with this here Google machines that we don't fully understand at time, but we're getting better at it, I hope. But also, this is the box I'm talking about that we received this week from where I ordered some equipment that we're going to be using in a few weeks as we go up through the Midwest and Indiana and everything, and work with some families up there on some cold cases and do some reviewing of cases and things. And so during that period, when we're out on the road, we've still got to figure out how that works and what our upload and what our schedule will be during that week. But we'll have some content coming out. We just don't know how it'll work right now, because this will be our first road trip, first of many, hopefully, as we try to do whatever we can do for people that wish to have, have us look at or try to assist them in any shape, form, or fashion that we can. And also, we're still working on the Cyclops, and Mrs. Steve here has got these states in, and she's been doing some more information on. Go ahead and tell.
Massachusetts is up, and I'm working on Arizona, so that should be coming hopefully in the next 3 days. I'm waiting on one more state, but I can't remember what one. I can't remember what that one was. Yeah. This is constant. This is constant. Yeah. And one other thing, if you see or find somebody later that should be added to a state, just email me. I'm keeping those in a file. And when I catch a break, I'm going to be adding all those. And if you see somebody on there that's listed that has been found or murdered, suspect or whatever, let me know that too, so I can kind of clean it up.
And we appreciate all the volunteers that continue to work out there with us, assisting us. It means a lot to us. And if you do want to volunteer and help us with some more states and things, just email me. And most certainly there's a lot of states to go, and there's a lot of information to gather. A lot of these people, like I say, it's hard work on them to go out and gather this information, but it's been very beneficial, and it's working out so far pretty good. And then later tonight, I know I saw we're in comments earlier. Was it John or Alicia? Thanks, Steve, for your insight, experience, and Google machine extraordinary for all you're doing to help. Thank you. And it's a Google machine here, and
it is.
But we're learning a lot. But I was on Chris's show a couple 3 hours ago, and now I got my show here. And then later tonight, I'm going to be on Unsolved Crimes Uncovered show at 10 o'clock.
Right. And
we'll be doing an interview where she'll be interviewing me, and we'll be talking about some of her cases that she's looking into. And whatever she has asked that she wants to ask me, I most certainly will answer. And then whatever her community wishes to know about, whatever I can do, or whatever information or I can share with her community about where law enforcement is, what we do, and where we need to go forth, uniting. Dark Arts by Andrea, $20. Super. Thank
you.
Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. But as law enforcement better understands, and they see what a positive impact that people working together, that, if you have a missing child, or if you have a wanted person, used to getting word out was extremely difficult. Not in this day and age, not with what all the social media platforms. Some law enforcement agency have embraced it, some haven't. But for them to embrace, most certainly, to build that respect is a two-way street, and it will take sometimes for some agencies to do so. Some agencies are fully involved and fully embrace us as we move forward. Some not so much, but that would change as there's a better understanding between the two parties, and I look forward to that day. And of course, we also always want everybody, and I'll come back to this before we end the show tonight, and remind everybody about 10 o'clock, Unsolved Crimes Uncovered. So anyone that wants to follow me over that saw the first show, this show, or wants to see another show of whatever she has for me, I'm looking forward to it, because I know we're going to be talking about Harmony Montgomery and John Natson, which is both of them extremely interesting cases, and both of them are tragic for the families. And if we can do anything for either one of them to bring some type of closure, we most certainly should. But as always, there's a couple of cases that are dear to our hearts here that, we have the Evansdale murders of Lyric and Elizabeth. And this is the contact information. If you have any information on that abduction, double homicide, most certainly call this number if you have some, any information at all. And then, of course, with Delphi, with the double abduction murder of Libby and Abby, same thing. If you have the information on those two cases, most certainly call law enforcement, let them know, give them that one tip that will solve it and bring justice and get this psychopath animal off the street. But with that being said, we'll get into, like we always do, if you have any questions about any case, either what we've always covered already or other cases or anything you're interested in about my career, most certainly ask it, and I'll discuss it and try to make it as clear as possible.
Are you going to do anything about the box?
The members of RNA, we did our first members broadcast and share some information on what was in the box. What I had ordered is that when we go out on the road, we're going to be working some cold cases, and some of the cold cases involved things that parts of crime scenes that may or may have not been processed fully in the during that transitional time period back in the 80s and early 90s. And this was right at the transition of where the old school of how things were investigated pre-CSI. Nowadays, everybody knows, everybody is so well educated by watching these TV dramas of, and it's a lot of truth in what they do. A lot of the technologies, it doesn't work on the speed that they show you in a 43-minute show or how long it is. But it just doesn't work at that speed. But it should. Yeah, she loves them. And she don't like me watching them with her, but she loves them.
He ruins every show we watch together.
Yeah, and it's fun. But some of the equipment that exists now didn't exist. Everything as advances in science and advances in techniques, and we have better training, and agencies come together, work for one cause. Sometimes not so much, but often is the case is that everybody wants bad people off the road or off the streets. And there's only one way to do that, and that is process crime scenes properly. And like I said, I've watched it transition from whereas, it's just an officer going in there blindly, and I've seen so much evidence in some of those cases earlier in my career where people were confused and didn't know what to do with certain types of evidence. But through the training and stuff that came forth during those later years in the 80s and into the 90s, there was a great transition into the sciences and getting officers better trained. And it worked out well. And it continues to go forth that way because there's far more law enforcement officers that have all the training that is needed to ensure that all the evidence that can be collected is collected in the critical cases. Because when you miss, sometimes you only have one piece of evidence, and, you may have a crime scene that is scattered throughout a house, and you would think that there's DNA everywhere, that there's evidence, fingerprints, everything scattered everywhere. You think, oh man, we're going to be able to process a lot of things, and you can process a lot of things, but sometimes it may be it's that one blood drop that's in a field of 500 blood drops, and you're trying to find the one that matters, that is from the offender versus from the victim, and learn how to read a crime scene, how to process a crime scene, seeing the things that don't belong in that just chaos that's in a crime scene is difficult. But I was fortunate to work with some really good personnel in my life that were able to go out there and we processed a lot of things and found a lot of things. And it's just absolutely amazing. But some of the things I ordered this week were a couple, 3 kits from, whereas we have alternative light sources to some of the, I even ordered a couple of containers of fake blood. Somewhere's in here. But yeah, and synthetic blood is what they call it, fake blood. And so that I can go out and recreate some of these crime scenes and see how blood spatter works, or and do tests outdoors, so I can share some of the obstacles that face law enforcement on outdoor crime scenes versus indoor crime scenes. And I think it's important for people to understand that the outdoor crime scenes, such as with Libby and Abby, are extremely difficult, and you're time driven, that we have to get everything processed in a short period of time. But like I said, there were some luminol presumptive blood test equipment I've ordered. I ordered some other hemosticks so I can do a secondary presumptive test to verify that whenever I go into some of these possible new crime scenes and determining that is this the crime scene that has blood and DNA in it, because that's the only hope that is possible in some of these cases, is that what law enforcement may process and understand as being the primary crime scene or murder scene may not be the case. That crime scene could be staged. And if you can ever determine that there's another source or another area that is the actual crime scene, or has certain evidence within that shouldn't be there, then most certainly all that information will be turned over to law enforcement just as soon as we find anything that leads down those avenues, and let them continue with the investigation. And but this is the only way that I know of how to do that and try to help these families. And that's what we're going to be moving out and doing. All right.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. DGR Dave, Steve, is there a special reason why the FBI pulled the warrant on RL?
When obtaining the warrant, I take it, I don't know what you mean by pulled the warrant. If you're talking about why they obtained a search warrant, it's because they determined that this is the way they wanted the investigation to go, and that they had enough probable cause to go to a judge in the affidavit, convince the judge that we need a search warrant, go in there and search. Pulling a warrant, if you're talking about trying to pull that there was an arrest warrant somewhere and they pulled it back without serving, I have no knowledge of that. The only knowledge I have currently is that there was a search warrant obtained. We've seen the affidavit. I haven't seen the return of that search warrant, which is I was hoping that Murder Sheets would provide that information so that we could see. You know, they provided everything that about the affidavit about obtaining it, and the judge signed off on it. And generally, after a search warrant is issued, they're here in Georgia. You only have, I think it's like 10 or 15 days to go back to the court and say, this is what we gathered from that crime scene, or from that location that you granted us the ability to go and search that residence. And so you have to give back to the court that, yes, we went in, searched this residence, we obtained blood, hair, electronic devices, phones, whatever you got, you have to notify the court, this is what it is, this is what we have, so that when it does go to court, everyone, the defense attorneys will have all the information, and just guarantees that it's going to be a fair trial.
All right. And we have folks from Canada and Australia.
Thank you.
So thank you, and welcome. If you're new to the channel, we hope you like us.
Yep.
Let's see.
She wants to go to Australia.
Yep.
I won't go anywhere. I'll go anywhere.
Arlette, I hope they find what they're looking for.
I do too.
You're
I
talking
absolutely
about
do.
the river.
Absolutely. And I hope they've already found some of it. They've moved from the river up to the banks, which can, several different reasons behind that. And I'm looking at that and trying to see what, as we move forward next week or so, as the search continues, if it does continue, that I'll be looking at what does that mean, and trying to understand what that means in certain areas that they're looking for, because it is very odd in the positioning of up on some of those banks. What exactly does that mean? Because they're there for a reason. What information were they given by whom to do what they're doing? And I'm looking forward to seeing what the link is on that.
All right. And Scott Brown, let's all pray these little girls get justice soon.
Yes, absolutely. And there's a lot of victims out there, but most certainly, when we talk about this age group and these little children, they deserve every one of us to do everything we can.
All right. Let's see here. And Molly, at Steve, that old warrant and how they didn't act on it was awful.
It was and
there's Dylan?
On Dylan, on
Okay.
Brenner, a person that was suspected of being involved in him going missing. That local law enforcement says it was due to COVID that they hadn't acted on the warrant. And if that's the case or not, it doesn't matter. But most certainly, when you have a violent criminal and you choose not to serve a felony warrant on that individual, I can see where the family of Dylan is extremely upset. That warrant could have been served any time from 2021 when it was issued all the way up until the time that he came up missing. And if Brenner is the one responsible for Dylan being missing, then most certainly the failure to act is certainly a failure on the government's part.
All right. And Patricia, I wonder if the reason LE haven't served a warrant on the POIs in this case because they don't want to annoy them with a felon.
And that's back on what Chris's show was, is that the felon was annoyed that law enforcement and the families was on the properties searching for Dylan. It annoyed the felon. Bless his heart. I can't. There's a lot of ways I wish I could annoy felons. When I serve warrants on them, I annoyed them.
Yeah. Molly, at Mrs. Steve, I know you're waiting on Missouri. Don't rush. I've got plenty to do. All right, let's see here. All right, and I have to go down to 8:15. I'm doing better with my time.
Excellent. Hopefully. She's figuring out this thing.
I'm working on it. And Karen Lee, you asked for the email, and I put it in chat, or it's running on the ticker.
Yep.
Either way.
Steve@truecrimeweb.com.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get you in contact with me. Looking forward to it.
All right, so it's coming. And Arlette, I'm concerned that they seem having trouble finding what they're looking for in Wabash.
And that's another thing. I saw where one of them was holding up a tire iron that was down in the river. Tire iron was there for some reason, but don't know if that's related to any crime, but most certainly I saw where they recovered one. And plus, we don't know what they have recovered and what they are marking. Because there's a lot of flags that's in that river, and which are those relevant to what they're looking for. And when will they release that information? We don't know, but hopefully they will at some point, because I know the crash unit was out there about a week or so ago, and they were marking some areas or doing what they do with a 3D imaging, and they had the drones up, and so they most certainly were marking something on that day for some reason. So I'm hoping that when they were there, it was for a specific recovery of something that was important. Is it everything that's important in that river? Don't know, but I'm looking forward to finding out.
And Molly, poor sweet Harmony, so awful they gave her to that monster of a father. Would be very interested to hear your CSI thoughts on this case.
I was reading an article earlier today about that they had found some biological evidence on her on the case, because they went in and did a search warrant recently. And most certainly, anytime this long after a reported missing child suspected of being dead and hearing biological evidence that's within a residence means that there was most certainly something happened within that residence that led them to the conclusion that, she was harmed. But as we move forward, that's another case. And like I say, the courts, for whatever reason, the Department of Children's Services, you see it time and time again where there's failures in the system. And how do we fix that? And there's going to take some better minds than me to fix it. I know what to do with the offenders. I know how to fix them. I just don't know how to fix the court systems and the Department of Public Services that protect these children to make them better informed and prepared to protect these children. I just don't understand how they can fail a child. It makes no sense to me.
All right. And Concrete J, how can we donate to help fund your road trip?
You
Through the channel and PayPal.
Yeah, PayPal on the website.
Watch ads.
Watch ads. Yeah.
Just watching ads costs nothing. Just sit there and let them play.
Oh yeah. Turn them on. Turn on the video and go fix your coffee, eat lunch,
That's
whatever.
it. Absolutely.
Watch the video. Watch the ads. That all helps in the world of YouTube. But like I said, you can go to PayPal on our website, and then there's so many different ways. On YouTube, it's more that YouTube takes a fair amount. I think that 30% plus their taxes and stuff. So it's less through the YouTube stuff that we would be able to further make those dollars stretch into the items that we need. But we most certainly appreciate the bit work, but we most certainly appreciate everybody supporting in any shape, form, or fashion. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. And Dark Arts, maybe if Delphi is solved, it could help solve Evansdale?
If they're linked, most certainly. I mean, I did a video on it, and there was a lot of commonalities between the two, or similarities between the two. And, are they or are they not? That's a great debate. And I'm looking forward, like I said, going and looking at some of that information and sharing that information with y'all.
And James, question: if there's 43 seconds of video, why did Delphi police not show as much as possible? You don't audio just as much as possible help the public.
And that was probably whatever is additionally on that video. I'm with you. I think they should have now, and I made the argument for many, many months, or not many months. I've only been working on the case now for just a few months. But once I became aware of how long that audio and video was, or potential of audio and potential of video from the Ron Logan search warrant, says it's a 43-second video, that I most certainly would like to see all 43 seconds, because all we're having, everybody says this is how he walks. You have a loop of 1.5 steps. Is that how he walks? I don't know. You give me 43 seconds of watching him walk across that bridge. If they have it, then I know how he walks. But that second and a half of them saying that, Carter saying that, imagine without the head and just the body, you would recognize who this individual is. So
without the head?
Yeah. For whatever reason, because it's so pixelated you can't tell the facial features. And so he said you would recognize if that was a certain individual. Hasn't been the case. So he was wrong on that right now. But they're working, I'm sure, and they have, in investigations, you choose what information you want to release. You release as little as possible. If you need to release more, you do as you progress through the case. And they did 2 years later. They totally changed the case around to a new sketch, which is one of the strangest things I ever seen in my career. But and hopefully they do have a suspect. Hopefully it's where it's going now, because like I said, they've gone almost all in that if it isn't associated with this Anthony Shots account, then if you can't prove there's some link, then it's going to be a great leverage for the defense to use in the defense of a client. If you can't show that there's some linkage whenever they do find out who the psychopath is.
And this is priceless. Molly, you mean the DNA machine doesn't spit out the exact perp in 10 seconds in real life?
Back when it first started, you couldn't get it in 10 months.
All right. And Marie, do you think the Delphi murder is in law enforcement or a community leader?
No, if it's within my personal opinion of what cluster of people that I associate with the Anthony Shots account, there are certain individuals that were involved in certain careers. But as far as being local active, I don't have any of those that was in that cluster, but that's just my own thoughts. And I could be wrong on that. But, I can't say that there's any group of individuals, because these predators that are involved in this CSAM network of looking. Kristen behind the door.
Oh, thanks, Kristen.
Thank you, Kristen. That means a lot to us. But there's so many predators out there in all fields of life and all workforces, so that anyone and everyone could be, that they may have some link. So I can't just across the board say, yes, they're a part of this, or no, they're not, because there's many careers and people have had many jobs over their lives. But I do have a cluster of people that I think I just won't share.
All right. And Dark Arts, starting to believe Evansdale was more than one.
There is a great potential of that, because, like I said, the stats from the law, from FBI and everything else, is that if you have more than one victim, it's a higher odds that you have more than one offender.
All right, Scott Brown, what are the chances KK is just leading LE on?
I give it 50-50. And that's the thing, is that you have to look at it and put it on a balancing act of that. Okay, he gave us the information. So now we have to go out there, and we either got to tilt it one way or the other. Is he telling us the truth? Have we given him the polygraphs? Has he passed those polygraphs? Has he given us information that only would be known to a killer or someone that participated in the crime? Does he have information about what type of weapons may be used that is only known to people that would have known if the act was committed? So there's a lot of ways that someone could give supporting evidence of that. But then again, sometimes people can guess correctly, and law enforcement has to go out there and verify that, yes, we have supporting evidence, or everything that he says we've gone out and looked for, and we can't prove anything he's telling us is true. And then you go to the other side, but most certainly law enforcement has to prove it, either being truthful or, have the evidence that's saying that we tried to prove it, can't prove anything he says is the truth. We've expended every effort and every technology that we know, And there's nothing saying that he's telling the truth, and then you have to just go that he's just giving false information.
And Olivia, well, LE has certainly had plenty of time working on Delphi.
They have, and on almost all of these cold cases, it's that way. And you know, I've worked them also, whereas I know who. Sometimes knowing who the offender is and proving who the offender is two different things, and it's so frustrating that whatever evidence that you needed, that even that you didn't work on the case originally, you came into the case many years later, and you see, whereas you can't get you don't have the evidence to present to that grand jury or to that jury that will ensure that this person serves whatever penalty is given to him. It can be extremely frustrating.
All right, dark arts at TCW. Is outdoors better for perpetrators to get away with a violent crime? It seems brazen.
That is counted whenever you're doing a profile, which a criminal profile of a certain type of offender. The risk factors and all of that is brought into that. When you're looking at that crime scene and you evaluate for what it is, most certainly outdoors where anyone might be able to see you, especially with what in both the Evansdale and in Delphi at the time frame that it occurred, most certainly is a high risk environment for an offender to commit such offenses for the abductions. So we just, outdoors, it's one thing if it's in the middle of the night on a vacant trail. You see it all the time where these people are in some of these parks at 2:00 in the morning walking back in some of the remote areas, and they come up missing, or they come up dead. And you have to, that people, if you put yourself, and law enforcement looks at that as part of your victimology, that if you're in a place that's normal and is low risk in the middle of the afternoon, full daylight on a busy trail is one thing. If you put yourself in danger, in the path of danger on that same trail at 2 a.m. near a high risk area, then that means something else. Which Delphi wasn't high risk either way. You should have been able to walk that part of the country, regardless of time frame, and not expect what happened to you happen to you. And the same with Evansdale. It most certainly is a low risk area, regardless of time or day.
All right, and Omar, what are your thoughts on all these federal, state, and local agencies not communicating or working cohesively? Where is the FBI and GBI now in terms of involvement? GBI.
Those first days, and we'll just specifically look at the Delphi, that in those first days, and like the other day, I was in someone's chat and I mentioned that day 1, day 2, day 3, law enforcement is there. Everybody's coming together. You've got the murder of 2 innocent children. It's a team effort. Let's get this killer off the street. Let's find him. We've got the evidence. We know what we're looking for. We got a picture. We got audio. Let's find him. Let's go and do our jobs. Let's go out there and get all the video from all the stores, the banks, home residences, whatever video exists from hunting cams, whatever. Get all that information. And did they do that? They most certainly, in some cases, they did. And then we find out that in one case of a critical store, the Marathon, it failed to work. And so after a few days, as task force move along, there will always be a divergence of, well, this is what I think happened, or this is what I think happened. This is the way we should be going. And it takes leadership to move the investigation along with the least amount of friction between agencies. But it's just a matter of understanding, and that's what leadership does, is that this is the fight that we have to fight, and this is how we're going to fight it. And if you have some troops in there that don't want to cooperate and work right, leadership takes care of that and gets them out and brings in the ones that will work as a team effort. As far as what the FBI, what their involvement is, early on in the case, they say they'll be there until it's ended. I mean, they're still sworn law enforcement officers, and so they'll do whatever their job is, hopefully to the bitter end. The GBI, I think, what they did on this specific case was that they did a peer review. How they've done another peer review, I don't know, but hopefully so, and hopefully it's done by different agencies and with the understanding of where technologies is currently at, because technology most certainly has advanced from 5 years ago.
All right. And dark arts, maybe all abduction/violent acts have to be done by more than one?
No, there's a percentage of them that one offender will attack multiple victims and be successful. I mean, that does occur. It depends on what you bring and how organized you are. Now, if you're a disorganized individual versus a organized, then you'll leave far more evidence. But someone who's above average intelligence brings the proper tools to gain control and maintain control, because you may have, there's certain individuals out there that will bind, just like BTK, bind, torture, kill. He was highly organized, highly intelligent, highly motivated, and proceeded to do his evils for a long period of time. So certain cases, you will have that. The disorganized, not so much. They'll just absolutely go in there and it's chaos, and they'll leave evidence and a lot of it, and are luckily quickly caught in a lot of cases. Not all the cases, but in a lot of them they are.
And from Y, great show. Smash that like. Thank you, Y.
Thank you. Thank you.
We appreciate it. Let's see here. CJK, does a search warrant have to be specific, or can it be open to search whatever you want for whatever you deem fit to look for?
They're extremely specific. When you go out and you fill out affidavit, you're going to be searching a certain residence and the curtilage, which is the surrounding outhouses, cars, vehicles, whatever you put in that search warrant, barns, the properties of, but they're very specific, and they're, you have to be very inclusive of the items you're looking for: electronic devices, cell phones, blood, hair, body fluids. And, the courts allow certain leniency about stepping out, but you have to have something that you can link and say. And so when you look at some of these long-winded affidavits, they're just doing that so they can include as much stuff that when they get there, that they're able to collect it. And it's based on some probability that they found at the crime scene that they need. So you can look at some of the language that's in there that they're looking for at a specific residence, means that more than likely at the crime scene itself, they found something that they're trying to identify from another location. And so you can do some deductive reasoning and go along those routes. Like if they said, we just want to go to a residence and we're looking for fibers, blood, hair, and that's all you see, then of course that's all they're going to search for. They can't go in there and take the computer if all they have in the affidavit is hair, fibers, blood. And so that if they're looking for and trying to make that reasoning that a certain offender with that in their training would memorialize by taking pictures or other stuff, that, and then say we're going to take electronic devices, then of course they can then start taking the cell phones, the computers, hard drives, whatever they need.
All right. And Susan, is giving false information or false leads considered a form of staging? Love your show too.
Thank you. There's so much stuff out there on false information and staging. Yes. And there you have posing, you have staging, and a lot of times people stage to misdirect the investigation, and that's the reason they stage is that if we don't stage it to look in a certain direction, they're going to suspect me. So how can I make this look like something it's not? And so when they stage a crime scene, they're doing it to misdirect the investigation. But there's also, like I said, law enforcement's trained to look at that and see what is happening there. Is it a signature? Is it staging? Is it posing? What does it mean? And what are the indicators, one versus another? And it's come a long way.
So is giving false information, what happens if somebody gives false information?
Well, I was saying that, it is part of the staging. That if they're providing, that's all they're doing is that they've created something false to lead you away from where a natural avenue of looking would take them. And that's what the false information is.
Is there a charge for that?
No, there's not a charge for it. It's just it's what they do. It's still murder. It's just.
Well, yeah. Okay. And this'll do nicely. Love listening to you from Scotland.
Oh,
woo, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. All right. And
so I take it there's not a lot of people from Georgia and Scotland. I most certainly would. In our family tree, some of our DNA is from up in that part of the country. I want to visit Scotland. I really do. And I'm looking forward to it. She won't travel with me, but I want to come there myself.
All right. And Ann, this perp is a violent criminal. If he's not in jail and is alive, and assuming Ellie has a prime suspect, can Ellie be informally surveillancing that person to assure their location and activity?
If what you say is true, absolutely.
Yes,
they're watching them 24/7. And how successful are they? I think on the it was Gabby, the boyfriend. They were surveilling him.
Audrey.
He escaped. He escaped their surveillance, unfortunately. And but yes, law enforcement. If they have a prime suspect and they are getting ready to act, I'm pretty sure that that person's 24/7. Dark arts. Could you
please reiterate the staging of Delphi? Thank you.
If staging occurred, and they most certainly said that the bodies had been moved. How far were they moved? And then when you look at Ives, that he says there's signatures there. Is he speaking with a knowledge of training of what staging is? But staging, in my understanding of the way it goes with staging, is to misdirect the direction of the investigation. That without that with the information that's at that crime scene, if it's misinterpreted, it will lead you down the wrong path. That's why people will make a residence, and that a homicide, say someone's killed in a homicide, that they'll stage it to look like a burglary, or you'll find a homicide victim in a certain part of town, and they'll take certain items, or they'll take the billfold to make it look like a robbery when it had nothing to do with that. It may have been some type of other revenge killing or something else, but they'll make it look like it's something that it's not, to misdirect the investigation so that you wouldn't consider them to be a possible suspect. But that's one of the pure senses of what staging is in law enforcement analysis of a crime scene.
And Patricia, if they are looking for something as small as a memory card, it's going to take some systematic searching, and that will take time.
If they're looking for something like a memory card, I wouldn't even know how far downstream they would have to go, because the search I did on a cell phone, and the cell phone that I used, and the weight and the size of it, it would go down from my calculation, if it was at almost flood stage, several hundred feet. So I could see where a memory card, I don't even know where it could go, but hopefully they're looking for something more substantive, more has more weight to it, closer to the bridge.
And T-Bone, do you think KK could have misled Ellie on the Wabash search because that's what he does?
Most certainly. I mean, he's coming up for trial for some serious offenses and possession of sea salmon. So most certainly if this is his only out trying to lessen the what time he can serve, and would he do this? Absolutely. I mean, he's a known liar. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I mean, from the interviews, from the possession of, and having all those devices over many years, and all the devices having a similar search pattern, that, not everywhere, he wasn't hacked by some stranger everywhere he went that had this desire to look up child porn of the sea salmon stuff. So most certainly, it leads to one conclusion.
And why? Wish John Benet Ramsey's killer would be identified.
I do too. I haven't looked at that a lot. That was going on when we was in training, and they referenced it a lot back in those days. And you still see some of the specials and documentaries, and it's extremely interesting. And a lot of people, like I say, to this day, it's down the line. Is it one way or the other? Extremely interesting. I side with John Douglas and the I can't remember the name of the investigator that they both believe that was an outsider. With what limited information I have, I'll go with a professional of what Douglas said, and what that investigator was basically a legend in that area of being able to solve crime, because some of these guys have great instinct, and they know what they're doing.
And Honda, we'll just go with Honda. Crazy idea. Could they use the magnet that they pick up cars with and get everything in that area at once?
You see people magnet fish. Some of those magnets are extremely powerful that you just throw out there, and you see people magnet fishing all the time. And that's one of my nightmares, is that has anyone been in that area prior to law enforcement over the years and innocently picked up something, and law enforcement doesn't know that. And that's one of the things I fear most, that, somebody might have been in that area throwing out a magnet and picked up the item. And hopefully not, but hopefully if anyone has, that they realize that and has contacted law enforcement. Cyclops.
Daisy. Oh, thank you. Cyclops. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Appreciate that. But yeah, that's one of my, okay. Marlet Barrier.
This is so interesting, Stephen. Mrs. Steve is doing an amazing job too.
Absolutely. Like I said,
thank you.
If it was just me, I'd be staring at a blank screen about right now.
Oh, you could handle this Google machine.
She has great faith in me.
This Google machine, though, is something else, man. All right. And Zooter, I'd love to go help the detectives in the Wabash with my magnetic fishing rod. Somehow I don't think they'll let me participate.
Oh, man. Yeah, I think if you went out there and tried to prank them, they would have an ill look upon that. I can envision that if I was there and I saw that, if I was in the river, yes, you would be at the receiving end of some very harsh criticism. But I love the thought. I love the thought. That's, yeah, I love the thought. It is.
All right. And digital, what procedures are needed to compel a witness to testify in front of a grand jury?
Certain, have they been negotiating a plea deal for that? Everybody has a right that they can plead the fifth, and but you can negotiate for certain plea deals. And if it is in front of a grand jury, what does it do? But it has to be truthful testimony. It can't just be any testimony. It has to be truthful testimony that can be supported and prove a point and have evidence supporting it, in my understanding of it, for the fact that you can't pay somebody to go and testify to a certain end, and that's the only thing that you have that tells you that this person was involved. It may get in there, but the jury will just weigh it for what it is, and you got 50-50, and they won't give it any weight.
And Anna, LE has said they are withholding something on video audio to use at trial.
And the only way I can see them doing that is that they've already identified someone or something, because if they have that and it would be useful to the case and solving the case, I would be releasing it. So the only reason they wouldn't be releasing it is that they have something that, and I may be wrong, but what is the argument? I don't know why they would hold something and let this case go cold, and they're only holding it for a trial, but yet by holding it, they're letting a psychopath remain on the streets. It wouldn't make sense to do that.
All right. And DGR Dave, in regards to the DNA, they might have a match, but instead of having a 99% match, maybe it's more like 1 in 100,000.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, and what was it? There was another case, whereas it was something like that one of the offenders in a killing that was like 1 in 25,000, and they can't determine, because there's so many people within that town, that it possibly could be, and they can't isolate it any further. So you have a good point there. It could be something like that.
All right. And Nadia, KK is lying for sure.
At some point in this investigation, absolutely.
All right. Let's see here. And Anna, it's not as difficult for a killer to drive off with 2 small girls like the Evansdale's victim. Delphi took more effort. However, it happened.
Yes, absolutely. True. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about one of these in the Delphi, an athlete of good size and very determined, very intelligent, and most certainly could put up a fight.
And Molly, I don't think they'd spend this long searching the river, that much money, without something that links is legitimate, I hope.
And I agree 100%. 4 weeks at least, it's going into, and how much longer?
Let's see here. And Sean, Ellie wouldn't waste all this time on KK in the search if they didn't believe he was being truthful.
You're absolutely. I believe it. If this is the reason that they're there and they're looking for it, and I absolutely agree with that statement.
And Thistle, how can I tell if my membership has worked? Molly, can you help me with that? Well, let me look. Let me jump over. I have no idea.
Send me an email.
Yeah, I have no idea.
And I'll check and see if you're in there, and then get back with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on this Google machine, and I'm honestly scared to jump over to YouTube, because then I may not come back.
If you send me an email, I'll be able to tell you privately that yes or no, it has or hasn't worked. Because usually on YouTube, when it first gives me a notification, it puts your name on the list, and then it says it's 0 days, and usually it's about 1 or 2 days before you get on my end of in the list, because there's a processing timeline.
Oh, Double Rainbow's put out there that your name will turn green.
Okay.
So I guess your printed name turns green.
Okay.
Thank you. There you go. All right. And Anna, I wonder if in the beginning, local LE agreed with the FBI's opinion about RL, or if local LE worked a number of different directions, keeping options open.
And they would. I mean, with the personnel that they had, if they had multiple and the leads are coming in, not every lead, although in the warrant, I think they said that there's like 15 different leads identifying Logan. But they were receiving thousands of leads, which means that there was far more than just Logan that was being identified as possibility of being bridge guy. And if you look at some of the other offenders that were arrested in Colorado and locally and otherwise that they matched the description. They had enough personnel that they could follow up different avenues all at the same time, which is very rare, because as they said on that stage a week after the murder, that they had never seen the response from law enforcement coming together and working together to come to to try to finalize that case. And so, yes, they were working multiple angles, and all the officers, some of them would have probably developed down certain avenues that this is the one. He's the one that needs to be caught. And but that's the way investigations go.
All right. And Nadia, how long will LE search the river?
I'm surprised they've been there 4 weeks, but that shows you the importance of what they believe on whatever case it is, what they believe is in that river. There's something there that's valuable. Have they found part of it? Have they found 90% of it? Have they found 99% of it? Don't know. But whatever it is, it's a high value piece of evidence.
All right. And Jennifer, I imagine when they leave Delphi, YouTubers or etc. will start searching the area.
And why not? You know, I think on the case out in California, a YouTuber went there and found a computer that belonged to what was her name? God, I haven't worked.
Kylie?
Yeah, Kylie. Yeah, I did do a thing on Kylie. But they found her computer after law enforcement left, and that was a YouTuber. And so, yeah, it does occur, and most certainly it will happen on this case. I believe so.
All right, and people are asking about wind chimes. It's not a wind chime. It's actually our outdoor security system going off for some reason. So we could have a bug or something. Who knows what?
Deer.
But
yeah, we have deer.
We have deer. So, and I apologize for the dogs. They're talking about the dog. We were gifted my parents' dog because they can't do her anymore. Yeah. And she's just trying to get acclimated, and she hates closed doors. It's just something about a closed door the dog just despises. So I apologize for that.
She's a stalker.
She just hates it. All right. And digital. KK, TT, and friends, one have all had recent LE interactions. Wonder if 2 of them might have told the same story about the Wabash.
It's possible.
That could be.
It's possible.
Okay. Yeah. And Kathleen, I was hoping they collect camera information from restaurants and other rest areas or gas stations to see if someone matches BG.
And that was part of the information that was released by Murder Sheets when they said that the FBI went out and was gathering all the digital security information, which they do. You know, if it's a kidnapping or a bank robbery or whatever, that's what they specialize in. They know the procedures of how to go out and collect that stuff. They have manuals on it. It just, for whatever reason, didn't work on this system here. That at the marathon, was that due to that there was a certain time frame loop on the device that came back over the information and they weren't there promptly enough to get it? Or was there actual malfunction or mishandling of the evidence? I don't know. But I'm sure at some point that will be brought up in trial or some type of court.
And Melissa, I hope you're feeling better. Bless your heart. And Nathan, TK has been so quiet in all this, not a single interview anywhere.
Yeah, and most certainly that's his right too, you know, that to not just to remain silent. And whatever his involvement is, you know, who knows?
And Anna, one thing we may have learned from the RL affidavit is that LE considered the brown pouch thing on BG's right hip could have been likely was a fanny pack.
Yeah, and I look at it and, you know, what is it? You know, Carter said it looks like a shirt to him. I've looked at it and I've come to a different conclusion, but it's just my opinion. And but in the FBI, they did say within that it was something that Ron Logan was known to wear is a fanny pack.
Mm. And Anna, some have said that auto workers like TK have legal service attorneys as part of their job benefits. Well,
Yeah, I don't know. I know in law enforcement we have the county attorney that would take care of any of our city attorneys. Depends what agency you're with, and then also you can buy additional legal protections in certain instances.
and thank you, Thistle, for becoming a member. We appreciate that.
Absolutely, thank you. Was Thistle green?
I
don't know.
It's gone.
We're still learning.
We'll go look.
We're still learning this process, guys. Just
all right. In digital, I've seen cases where LE had to get an amendment or new search warrant because they found something unexpected.
And that would be that. I've never had that experience. That whenever we went to an area, but is it possible? Absolutely, that it is. That you get there and you're looking for, say, certain biological evidence, and then all of a sudden it turns into a drug investigation. So I can see where you would have that. We would turn it into a different type parallel and have to amend a search warrant. It's possible. I just never was involved in one.
And Arlette, Steve, do you also find that neither KK or Dad's voices sound like, quote, guy down the hill?
That's something I couldn't tell you. Music, I'm about tone deaf. I can't, when I turn off the radio, I lose all rhythm. So I can't tell you anything about that. That when I hear it, I don't know. There's certain people that have that inner ear and can differentiate on so many different levels. I'm not one of them.
All right. And Anna, I don't think TK is in any condition to run away. If what is said about his medical condition is true, his time is probably limited, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've heard that he has certain medical conditions that run parallel with what you're thinking.
And Jordan, staging equals trying to confuse the crime scene.
Absolutely, that's what it is. You're trying to confuse, and oftentimes it has been over the years in many cases misread to mean one thing or another, and people have been able to elude justice by staging.
All right, and Dark Arts, what was staged about Delphi again?
We don't know. I don't know what's in the crime scene. I just know that it's been alluded to that there was staging involved. FBI makes a mention about something about the staging and posing within the affidavit, or they did use the word, I believe it was staging. And then also Ives mentioned the word staging. And so what was, don't know. Was it used correctly? We don't know that either. So we don't know exactly what they're talking about. And hopefully at some point it's clarified.
And Lorraine, would you consider Lyric's and Elizabeth's murder to be organized?
To get away with it this long, most certainly appears to be so. That whoever the offender or offenders were, ever how they crossed paths with those two little girls that day, how they knew and familiar with the area, how you could control or lure or use whatever ruse to over or misdirect the fear to overcome any fear that these two children might have had of a stranger, that it would take at, because if you was disorganized and went in there and you are aggressive and you just grab two small children, then you would have screaming, crying children, which has never been reported. And where the vehicle is reportedly parked at is out near a residential street. And so, and nobody's reported seeing anything, because disorganized killers generally are very chaotic, and it's very localized. But what happened with them being transported to another secluded area over a vast distance of being multiple miles, which is an abnormal in itself, is more of an organized killer. So yes, I would think that the Evansdale was most certainly at least one offender was organized, highly organized.
In Jordan, signatures equal something unique the killer feels they have to do in the process of the crime. Perfect.
Yes, that when you sign, this is me, I did it for a reason. That is a part of their fantasy or makeup, that they have to do certain things. And but that happens over multiple crimes, not just one. But you have to have something to establish that initial whatever it is that plays a part in your fantasy, and that you commit, and then you continue to commit it to feed that one part of your fantasy.
And Patricia, if the cops ever need to question you, get a lawyer, even when innocent, especially when innocent.
And yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody's entitled to an attorney. And I've seen it, that you walk up and it doesn't mean someone's guilty just because, hey, I talked to my attorney first. Not a big deal. Evidence is evidence.
All right. And Kristen behind the crime door, guys, this is so good. We'll listen on replay.
All right. And actually, I think she's got a show.
All right. You got just a couple more.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay.
We're going to finish up here tonight.
All right. And Anna, apparently there are 2 GPS coordinates in relation to the bodies. Theorized victims were moved a little bit. I think the crime scene is in kind of a depression in the ground.
I'm hoping at some point to get up there and look at that. I don't know if they'll allow me to get access to that property, but I most certainly will try, because I think it'd be extremely interesting to see it and maybe clear up some of the misconceptions about what happened and where it was at. I don't know, but I'm going to try.
Okay. And Kit, Steve, you are doing a fantastic job connecting untrained, interested people who want to help in the true crime community with education and resources to help. You're a wealth of knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are very kind words. And that's what I try to do is, I just try to get the message out there and try to get people to think logically, and let's try to have an impact. That's all I want. Is I don't care who solves or who puts this psychopath in jail. Let's just put him in jail.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. And I had another one. I just got to find it. Oh, there's the Google machine. Okay, they're all talking to each other.
Okay.
All right. And T-Bone, I wish we had the time of death, but I realize it's part of the investigation, a big part, if they were moved in any way.
Yeah, manner of death and time since death, all those are key points and key information that I wish we had exact time. We can speculate by some of the information released by Carter and them about what time it was, but that's, we don't know. Time since death is key, and the only person that really that would know those is going to be the investigators and the coroner and whoever worked that case. They know exactly, or within whatever the evidence from the bodies would lead them to, as far as time since death.
All right. And Anna, I have wondered if the girl said something on audio that partially identified the killer. Like, aren't you the guy who? Not a name or identity, but kind of a description.
It could have been. It could be. No, who knows until they release it? Who knows?
Yeah. That could be. And I really look forward to the day I fire up my Google machine and the headlines are about a Delphi arrest raid going on.
Absolutely.
We're having a party that day. Okay?
Yes, we are. We're just going
to party. Let's see here. And Susan, do you think the first sketch could have been based on a false lead, considering DC said they have likely interviewed the culprit?
You know, I watched an interesting interview the other day about the lead investigator when he's talking about that the sketch was made from part of the video and or some of the sketch, and then they showed it to the witnesses, and that was my understanding of it. I'm gonna watch that again, but he mentioned that what the sketch was from the video, and then did the witnesses play a part and also assisting in, or just saying yes, that's him. But I found that interesting, and I'm gonna look back into that video a little bit more and get that information for you. That if my first understanding of that means certain things, and I'll get back with you on that.
All right, and Honeybee just came on. It's possible that the POI or I's are already in jail on other charges. So many have been arrested for meth.
Yeah, you know, meth, and also the CSAM charges. It could be either or both.
And Daisy, my mom always asked about Flora girls when I'm updating them in Delphi. They are not forgotten in the hearts of many central Indiana users.
Absolutely, and we should. There's so many victims, and that, you know, regardless of how they died and what manner, and what the offender meant, you know, it's just such a tragedy.
And no nickname. Why won't the police just say the search is related and what they're looking for? How possibly could it hurt the investigation?
I don't know. That is a good question, and I'm hoping that because whatever they find, they still have to link it to an individual and link it to a crime. And I mean, just because, say, if they did find a certain item in that river, there's still a lot of investigation to go on, and to, you know, close the loop and make sure everything matches to what they understand about the crime. So even if they found, say, a knife tomorrow, there's still a lot of investigation that has to be done to close the case.
And Laura Doon, Steve, as LE, have you had to be in the water to do analysis of a crime or related activities to try to solve a crime?
We've looked. Oh yes, I mean, you know.
Oh yeah.
You know, we recovered evidence from all different types of environments, but nothing like like them for 4 weeks in a river. You know, generally you would stand around and let, you know, either drag lines or whatever search back in those days was. It's nothing like what they're doing here. And I've never been involved in what they're doing here. Never seen that. And so that's amazing to watch, and that they, you know, that they have started training on how to recover items from water environments. It's something that's advanced over the years that back a few years ago didn't exist, but now does.
And Daisy says to deputize the dog. I'll see if I can't make a little slide of the pups.
Okay. Oh yeah, she will.
All right. And Anna, in my opinion, the Delphi killer didn't plan murder. He wanted to do something obscene down the hill under the bridge, but the girls ran, and when he caught up, he was enraged.
Is it possible? Absolutely. I mean, we don't.
I said that.
But he came prepared to do what he did. And so that has to weigh in on the calculations of what he was planning the whole time, because, you know, he had the ability to control them at some point and had a weapon that caused whatever injuries.
Laura Doon, general question I like to ask couples. Who does the cooking?
I do. She works.
I go shopping.
Yeah,
I work 2 jobs.
Yeah, she works.
So
yeah, No, I do most of the cooking.
All right, let's see here. Molly, at True Crime Web, it would be great if you could show the previous fanny pack and shadow experiments on the channel. Lots of new members may not have seen them, and they're great.
I'll go back. I've got a video on it. I just don't know which video it is, but I'll go back and look and see which one it is.
All right, so we'll pull that out. And Google Machine says I'm getting good with the Google Machine.
Excellent.
I got me a new
trick.
trick.
I love that name. I love that name. Google Machine.
I got a trick, and it's helping me out. So, you know, let's see here. All right, it's 9:26, and you want to take a break before your 10 o'clock?
Yeah, just we'll get
you got a few more, but
yeah. If I haven't gotten to your questions and tonight, I apologize. Most certainly we'll be back on, and just let us know, and we'll get to them as best we can. Put it in comments at the bottom of the video, because every day when I wake up, that's the first thing I do is go in there, try to answer any of the questions and comments of the video, and or shoot me an email. You know, most certainly don't have a problem. I'll answer any of your questions to the best of my ability. I answer all the emails I can. If they come in, sometimes I miss them, but generally I probably get 99%. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. And if you have information on Libby and Abby, most certainly contact. And if you have any information on Lyric or Elizabeth, same thing. Contact law enforcement, give them that clue so that we can get these predators off the street. But I'll be back Tuesday with another some more content on whatever I can find out about certain things, and some from these questions tonight. And but y'all be careful out there, and I look forward to seeing y'all Tuesday.
All right, thank you so much. Y'all are the best.
And also, one other thing.
One other thing.
Yes, don't forget about that. In about 30 minutes?
30 minutes.
In 30 minutes, I'm going to be on Unsolved Crimes Uncovered and talking. So if you have some of these questions, just follow us over there. Tell them where you came from and that you have a question. And if we can get to it, I'll answer it over there on that show. But like I said, that starts at 10, and looking forward to that. And anyone that wants to tag along and see show number 3 of me today, from the mob crew to mine to this one, most certainly come on, join with us. I'd enjoy that. And so I'll see y'all later, guys.
All right. Thanks.